The church was filled with white roses, gold candles, and men who looked like they knew exactly where to hide a body. Maya Collins stood near the altar with a needle between her fingers and a torn veil trembling in her hands. The veil was not supposed to tear. It was antique lace from Sicily, hand-embroidered with pearls, so small they looked like drops of frozen moonlight. It had belonged to 3 Russo brides, 2 widows, and one woman people still whispered about because her husband disappeared the morning after their wedding and was never found. Now the veil had split down the center, and every woman in the bridal room was staring at Maya like she had done it on purpose. "You ruined it," Vivienne D'Amico said. Her voice was soft enough for silk and sharp enough for glass. Maya looked up from the lace. "I didn't ruin it. Someone cut the inner thread. I can fix it before the ceremony starts." Vivienne sat in front of the mirror, wrapped in a designer gown that probably cost more than Maya's apartment building. Her dark hair was pinned beneath a diamond headpiece. Her lips were painted the color of fresh blood. Behind her, bridesmaids in champagne silk exchanged little smiles. Maya knew that kind of smile. She had seen it in high school hallways, in boutiques that assumed she could not afford anything, in hospitals where strangers stared too long at the scar that crossed the left side of her face from her cheekbone to the edge of her jaw. The scar was old, pale now, but it still pulled slightly when she spoke. It had been given to her by fire and glass when she was 19. Some women use makeup to hide imperfections. Maya had spent years learning how to stand still while people decided whether she was beautiful enough to look at. Vivienne rose slowly from her chair. Every conversation in the bridal room died. "You can fix it?" the bride asked. "Yes." Maya said, "But I need everyone to stop touching the lace." Vivienne laughed once. "Listen to her, giving orders in my wedding suite. I'm trying to save your veil." "No." Vivienne's eyes moved over Maya's face. She smiled wider. "You're retrying to save yourself. Because you know what people will say if a scarred little seamstress touches my veil and the ceremony falls apart." Maya's fingers tightened around the needle. A bridesmaid whispered, "Vivienne." But Vivienne was not finished. She stepped closer until Maya could smell her expensive perfume. White jasmine, champagne, poison. My grandmother would have called that scar a warning. Vivienne said, her gaze fixed on Maya's cheek. "A bad omen." The room went silent in a way that hurt more than laughter. Maya felt heat climb up her throat, but she did not look away. "I was hired to repair fabric," she said quietly, "not listen to superstition." Vivienne's smile vanished. Then she reached out and snatched the veil from Maya's hands. The lace tore again. A soft, sickening rip echoed through the bridal room. Maya flinched. Vivienne held the ruined veil up between them like evidence. "Look what you did." "I didn't, don't lie." Vivienne turned toward the open double doors, toward the hallway beyond, where guests and bodyguards moved like shadows. Everyone should see this. She walked out before anyone could stop her. Maya followed, breath caught in her chest, the needle still in her hand. The hallway opened into the nave of St. Aurelia S., one of Manhattan's oldest private churches, rented today for the union of 2 criminal dynasties. Sunlight fell through stained glass windows in red, blue, and gold. Hundreds of guests sat in rows beneath arrangements of white roses, tall enough to hide a gunman. At the center aisle stood men in black suits. Russo men, D'Amico men. A marriage between the 2 families was supposed to end a war. But looking at the armed guards near every exit, Maya wondered if weddings in this world were just funerals with better flowers. Vivienne lifted the torn veil for everyone to see. "This is what happens," she announced, "when you hire cheap help for a sacred ceremony." A murmur moved through the church. Maya stopped at the top of the aisle. Every face turned toward her. The guests looked rich, polished, cruelly curious. Women with diamond collars touched their throats. Men with silver watches leaned forward. Phones lifted discreetly. Maya wanted to disappear. Not because she had done anything wrong, because the scar on her face had become the loudest thing in the room. Vivian turned back toward her. Tell them, Maya, tell them how you put your hands all over my veil. I was fixing it, Maya said, voice low but steady. Vivian tilted her head. With that face, a few guests laughed. Not loudly. That would have been kinder. They laughed softly, elegantly, like humiliation was acceptable as long as it wore pearls. Maya swallowed. She could endure a lot. She had rebuilt a life from ash. She had opened a small alteration studio in Queens with borrowed money and second-hand machines. She had worked 16-hour days hemming gowns for women who never learned her name. But there was something about being laughed at in a church that made the old pain rise again. Vivian stepped closer, holding the torn veil. This scar, she said, pointing toward Maya's face, is a curse on my wedding. That was when the back doors of the church opened. Not loudly, just enough. But the room changed. Every man in a black suit straightened. Every whisper stopped. Maya did not turn at first. She felt him before she saw him, the way the air seemed to tighten. The way fear moved through powerful people like a silent command. Then he walked into the sunlight. Adrian Russo. Maya knew his name because everyone in New York with sense knew his name. He owned restaurants that had no menus, clubs with hidden elevators, shipping routes no one inspected, and men who would die before speaking against him. He was not the groom. He was worse. He was the man the groom feared. Adrian Russo wore a black suit and a black shirt open at the throat. No tie. No smile. His dark hair was combed back. His jaw clean-shaven. His eyes the kind of gray that made you think of winter water. 2 guards followed behind him. But he did not need them. He walked down the aisle like he owned silence itself. Vivian's expression shifted instantly. Her cruelty softened into something polished and sweet. Adrian, she said, thank God you were here. This woman ruined, give me the veil. His voice was calm. That made it worse. Vivian blinked. What Adrian stopped beside her. The veil. No one moved. Vivian hesitated. Then placed the torn lace into his hand. Adrian did not look at the bride. He looked at Maya. And for one impossible second, Maya forgot the room was staring. His eyes moved across her face, not quickly. Not with pity. Not with the usual uncomfortable flicker people made when they noticed her scar and tried to pretend they had not. He looked directly at it. Then at her, as if the scar was not something to forgive. As if it was part of the truth of her. What did she call you? He asked. Maya's throat tightened. It doesn't matter. It mattered enough to make the room quiet. Vivian laughed nervously. Adrian. She's being dramatic. I only said I heard what you said. The church went colder. Vivian's lips parted. Adrian stepped toward Maya. She wanted to step back. But pride kept her still. He held the torn veil between his hands. You repaired this, he asked. I tried to. Can it be saved? Maya looked at the split lace. Her hands remembered the pattern, even as her heart beat too fast. Yes. But not if people keep tearing it to prove a point. A shadow of something moved across Adrian's mouth. Not a smile. Something more dangerous. Approval. Then, in front of the bride, the families, the guards, and every whispering guest in St. Aurelia's. Adrian lifted the veil toward Maya. Maya froze. His hands stopped just before touching her hair. He was close enough now that she could smell clean smoke. expensive wool, and something darker beneath it. "May I?" he asked. The question was soft. That made her chest ache, because no one had asked her permission in that room all morning. Maya should have said no. Instead, she gave the smallest nod. Adrian lifted the veil over her head. The torn lace fell around her face in a cloud of white. It framed her scar. It did not hide it. The room stopped breathing. Viviana's face twisted with disbelief. Adrian looked at Maya through the veil and said, clearly enough for every person to hear, "Beauty without kindness is worthless." A stunned silence followed. Maya's eyes burned. Adrian turned his head toward Vivienne. "And cruelty in a wedding dress is still cruelty." Someone gasped. Vivienne went pale. Maya's hands trembled beneath the veil. She should have felt exposed. Instead, for one impossible moment, standing under torn lace in the middle of a mafia wedding, she felt seen. Then the first gunshot shattered the stained glass above the altar. The church exploded into screams. Adrian moved faster than thought. 1 second, Maya stood alone beneath the veil. The next, she was against his chest. His arm locked around her waist, his body shielding hers as shards of colored glass rained over them like broken jewels. A second shot cracked through the church. Bodyguards drew weapons. Guests dove beneath pews. Roses toppled. Candles rolled across marble. Adrian pushed Maya behind a stone pillar and covered her head with his hand. "Stay down," he ordered. Maya clutched the veil against her throat. "What's happening?" His eyes were on the balcony. Someone just objected to the wedding. Another shot. This one struck the wall inches from Adrian's shoulder. Maya screamed. Adrian did not flinch. He pulled a gun from inside his jacket with terrifying calm and fired once toward the choir loft. A man cried out above them. Maya's knees nearly gave. Adrian caught her before she fell. His hand tightened around her waist. Not gentle now, but absolute. "Look at me," he said. "I can look at me." Maya. Her name in his mouth cut through the chaos. She looked up. His face was inches from hers. Cold to the world, focused only on her. "You're leaving with me," he said. "I don't know you. You will survive me better than this room." Before she could answer, he lifted her into his arms and carried her through the side aisle as bullets tore through roses and men shouted in Italian. The last thing Maya saw before they disappeared through a hidden door was Vivienne D'Amico standing near the altar. No longer screaming, smiling. The side corridor smelled like candle wax, old stone, and gunpowder. Adrian did not put Maya down until they reached a private sacristy behind the altar. His men sealed the door, weapons raised. Maya stumbled away from him, trying to catch her breath. The veil was still tangled in her hair, torn lace clinging to her scar. Her hands shook. She hated that they shook. Adrian watched her. Expression unreadable. "Are you hit?" he asked. "No." "Are you sure I said no?" His gaze dropped to her fingers. Blood stained her palm. Maya looked down and realized the needle had cut her during the panic. A thin red line crossed her skin. "It's nothing," she said. Adrian took a step toward her. She stepped back. His eyes narrowed slightly. Not offended. Interested. "You afraid of me. You have a gun. So does everyone outside. That does not comfort me." Another almost smile flickered and vanished. He slid the gun back inside his jacket, then reached into a cabinet and took out a white cloth. "Your hand. I can do it. I didn't ask if you could." Maya met his star. "That must be difficult for you." "What, being told no?" The men in the room went still. One of them looked at the floor like he expected lightning to strike her dead. Adrian only watched her. Then he held out the cloth. This time, he did not move closer. A strange tension stretched between them. Maya took the cloth from his hand. Their fingers brushed. It was brief, barely anything, but it landed in her body like a warning. She wrapped the cut herself. Outside, the gunfire stopped. A heavy silence followed. One of Adrian's men, tall with a shaved head and an earpiece, opened the door a few inches. "Boss, shooters dead. 2 wounded. No civilians killed." Adrian's eyes stayed on Maya. "And Vivienne safe?" "Of course she is." Maya, stomach turned. Adrian looked toward his man. "Lock down the church. No one leaves until I say." "Yes." "Boss." The door closed. Maya pulled the veil off her head. "I need to go." "No." She stared at him. "Excuse me, no." He repeated. "You saw something." "I saw people shooting in a church." "I'm sure everyone saw that." "You saw Vivienne before the shots." Maya went still. Adrian stepped closer. Slow enough that she could have moved away if she wanted to. She did not. She hated that she did not. "What did you see?" he asked. Maya remembered Vivienne's face near the altar. No fear. No surprise. That smile. She wasn't scared. Maya said. Adrian's eyes darkened. "And the veil." Maya continued, looking down at the torn lace in her hands. "It wasn't damaged by accident." "I know. You know, I suspected." Maya frowned. "Then why let the wedding happen?" His silence answered before he did. "Because powerful men did not stop traps. They stepped inside them to see who closed the door." Maya backed away. "I'm not part of this." "You became part of it the second she put that veil in your hands." "No. I was hired for a repair job. You were hired because someone wanted you there." The room seemed to tilt. Maya's pulse beat in her ears. "What does that mean?" Adrian looked at the lace. "It means that veil carried more than pearls." He reached for it. Maya held it tighter. For a moment, his eyes rose to hers. "Careful," he said softly. "You keep taking things from me. I'm pretty sure this was taken from me first." Something changed in his expression. Not softness. Recognition. Adrian gently took the edge of the veil and turned it toward the light. "There's stitching under the border. Not decorative." Maya looked closer despite herself. She saw it then, a line of black thread, almost invisible beneath the ivory lace. Too deliberate, too tight, a pattern of knots. Broken and repeated. Her breath caught. Adrian noticed. "You recognize it?" "No." "Maya." I said no. He leaned closer. "You're lying?" She looked at him sharply. "And you're used to people being too scared to tell you that you're wrong." "I'm not wrong." The words were quiet. Terrible. True. Maya felt the scar on her face pull as her jaw tightened. Memories she had buried under years of work rose like smoke at Taylor's basement in Brooklyn. A man with gold rings teaching her emergency stitches. A locked door. A flash of fire. Someone screaming her name. She forced the images down. "That stitch is old," she said. "Sicilian mourning code. Tailors used it during wars to mark garments belonging to men expected to die." Adrian's face did not move, but his eyes changed. "Who taught you that?" "My uncle." "Name?" "No." His voice lowered. "Maya, you don't get my past because you scared me in a church." For the first time, Adrian looked almost angry. Not because she refused him, because she made him want to know. A knock sounded at the door. The shaved head guard entered again. "Boss, police are outside." Press 2. "Someone leaked the shooting already." Adrian's gaze stayed on Maya. "Who leaked it?" "D. Amico. People are saying the seamstress cursed the wedding." Maya went cold. What? The guard hesitated. They're saying she ruined the veil. Then the shooting happened. Maya's stomach sank. Of course, a public scandal needed a face, and hers was already scarred enough for strangers to believe in curses. Adrian turned toward the door. Bring the cars around. Maya shook her head. No. I'm going home. Your home is already being watched. You don't know that. I know how men like this move. I don't belong to you. He turned back. The room seemed smaller when he looked at her. No, he said. But right now, the people who tried to kill me believe you can identify their message. That makes you useful. And useful women disappear. Maya's heart pounded. I can call the police. Half of them are outside waiting to sell your name. I have a life. You had a life before Vivienne put you in front of that room. The words hit too hard because they were true. Maya looked down at the veil in her hands. A torn bridal veil. A hidden death code. A bride who smiled during gunfire. And a mafia boss who had lifted the lace over Maya's face as if she were not something ruined. Adrian stepped closer. His voice dropped. I can keep you alive. And what will it cost me? His eyes moved over her face, stopping at the tears she had not realized had fallen. For now, he said, your trust. Maya gave a small, bitter laugh. That's expensive. Yes, he said. I know. Outside St. Aurelia, S. New York had become a battlefield dressed as a wedding. Police lights flashed against white roses. Reporters shouted behind barricades. Guests were rushed into armored cars beneath the eyes of men who pretended not to carry weapons. Maya walked beside Adrian with the veil folded over her arm. Not because she agreed to go with him. Because 4 black SUVs waited at the curb, and every exit from the church was blocked by men loyal to families she did not understand. A photographer caught her face as she stepped into the sunlight. The flash made her flinch. Adrian noticed. Without a word, he moved in front of her, blocking the cameras with his body. Mr. Russo, someone shouted. Is she the reason the wedding was attacked? Another voice yelled. Is the wedding canceled? A third. Who is the woman in the veil? Maya stiffened. Adrian stopped. His men tensed. He turned toward the cameras with frightening patience. This woman, he said, is under my protection. The reporters erupted. Maya stared at him. Adrian opened the SUV door and placed a hand lightly against the small of her back. Not pushing, guiding. That almost made it worse. Because she could refuse force. She did not know how to refuse restraint. As she climbed into the SUV, she looked back and saw Vivienne standing on the church steps. The bride's perfect dress glowed in the afternoon sun. Her veil was gone. Her smile was colder than ever. And beside her stood Lorenzo Russo, the groom, Adrian's cousin, his face pale with panic. Vivienne lifted one hand and touched her bare hair as if making a promise. This is not over. The SUV door closed. The city disappeared behind tinted glass. For a few minutes, Maya heard only the low hum of the engine and the faint crackle of radios from the front seat. Adrian sat beside her, one arm resting along the back of the leather seat. His body turned slightly toward the window. He did not look shaken. That unsettled her more than the gunfire. Does this happen often? Maya asked. Weddings, shooting at them. He glanced at her. Only the important ones. She stared at him. He looked forward again. That was a joke. You need practice. This time, his mouth almost curved. Maya looked away quickly. Outside, Manhattan slid past in flashes of glass towers, crowded sidewalks, and summer sunlight. Normal people drank coffee, hailed cabs, argued into phones. They had no idea a woman in a torn veil sat beside a man who could order deaths in a whisper. Her phone buzzed, then buzzed again and again. She pulled it from her pocket. Dozens of notifications, unknown numbers, social media tags, a headline already spreading across gossip accounts: scarred seamstress curses Mafia wedding before church shooting. Maya's stomach dropped. There was a photo of her standing beneath the veil, Adrian lifting it toward her face. The caption made it look intimate, dangerous, damning. She turned the screen toward him. Your protection is going beautifully. Adrian took the phone from her hand. His expression did not change. But the temperature inside the SUV seemed to fall. Who posted first, he asked. Maya blinked. That's what you care about. That is how we find the knife. He handed the phone to the guard in the front seat. Trace the original account. Pull every camera near the church. And send men to her apartment now. Maya sat forward. No, absolutely not. Adrian looked at her. You are not sending men into my home. They'll secure it. They'll terrify my neighbors. They'll keep you from being dragged out of it. My sewing machines are in there. My work, my rent checks, my whole life. Then I will send someone careful. That is not the point. What is the point? Maya. The way he said her name made the argument feel too intimate. She looked at him, angry and frightened and exhausted. The point is that men like you think protection means taking over. His eyes held hers. For a long second, he said nothing. Then he reached forward, pressed a button, and spoke to the driver. No men inside her apartment without her permission. Watch the building from the street, quietly. Maya's breath caught. Adrian leaned back. There, he said. I can learn. She did not thank him. But something in her chest loosened against her will. The SUV turned into an underground garage beneath a black glass tower overlooking the East River. Adrian's private elevator opened only after a palm scan. A code. And the silent approval of two armed men. Maya watched all of it with a growing sense that she had not been rescued from danger. She had been carried into its center. The penthouse at the top was beautiful in a way that felt lonely. Floor-to-ceiling windows, dark wood, marble floors, a fireplace built into a stone wall, no family photos, no clutter, no warmth except the city burning gold beneath the late afternoon sun. Adrian led her into a room that had been turned into a private office. Screens covered one wall. Maps of the city glowed with red markers. A long table held files, weapons, and a silver tray of untouched espresso cups. Maya stopped in the doorway. You live like a villain in a movie. I prefer good lighting. Still need practice. His gaze flicked to her. This time, the almost smile stayed half a second longer. A woman in her 60s entered carrying a medical kit. She had silver hair pulled into a tight bun and the calm posture of someone who had survived many powerful men. This is Elena, Adrian said. She runs the house. Elena looked at Maya's torn dress sleeve, the veil in her hands, and the scar on her face. Her expression softened without pity. Come with me, sweetheart. Let's clean that cut. Maya hesitated. Adrian noticed. Elena is not one of my soldiers. I have survived this family longer than most soldiers, Elena said dryly. Maya liked her immediately. In the bathroom down the hall, Elena washed the cut on Maya's palm and placed a small bandage over it. You're shaking, Elena said gently. I'm angry. Those often look alike. Maya looked into the mirror above the sink. The scars stared back. So did the torn veil, draped over a chair behind her like a ghost. I am used to people saying things. Maya said. Elena closed the medical kit. No one gets used to being wounded. They only get better at bleeding quietly. Maya's eyes stung, Before she could answer, shouting erupted from the office. Adrian's voice was quiet. That was how Maya knew it was bad. She walked back toward the office and stopped outside the partially open door. A man was speaking fast. Boss, D'Amico denies involvement. Vivienne is claiming the seamstress attacked her and created confusion before the shooting. Maya gripped the doorframe. Another voice said, Lorenzo wants you to release Maya Collins immediately. He says keeping her here makes the scandal worse. Adrian replied, Lorenzo can want quietly. Boss, there's more. A pause. The stitch in the veil matches the garment recovered from the Santoro fire. Maya's blood went cold. Santoro. She had not heard that name spoken aloud in 7 years. Adrian went silent. When he finally spoke, his voice had changed. Say that again. The morning stitch. Same pattern. Maya stepped back, but the floor creaked. Every man inside turned. Adrian's eyes found her through the crack in the door. No one spoke. Maya should have pretended she had heard nothing. Instead, she entered the office. What do you know about the Santoro fire? She asked. Adrian dismissed the room with one gesture. His men obeyed instantly, leaving only him, Maya, and the city burning behind the windows. The door closed. Neither of them moved. Finally, Adrian said, My younger brother died in that fire. Maya felt the words strike the air between them. Sorry, she said before she could stop herself. Adrian's jaw tightened. Don't be. Grief is only useful when it becomes memory. That's a horrible thing to say. It's a true thing. No, it is a damaged thing. His eyes sharpened. Maya realized what she had said to him and took a breath. I was there. The office seemed to lose all sound. Adrian stared at her. At the Santoro tailor shop, he asked. Maya nodded. My uncle owned it. I worked there after my parents died. I was in the back room when the fire started. Adrian slowly came around the desk. Maya's body wanted to retreat. She forced herself to stay. You survived, he said. Yes. Who pulled you out? Maya's throat tightened. For years, the memory had come in. Fragments, smoke, heat, shattered glass. A hand gripping hers. A man's voice telling her to breathe. I don't know, she said. I woke up in the hospital. My uncle was dead. Everyone said it was an electrical fire. It was tent. I know. Adrian stopped in front of her. Why? Maya looked at the veil on the table. Because before the fire, my uncle was sewing that same stitch into a black suit jacket. He told me if anyone asked. I had never seen it. Adrian's face went still. Whose jacket? I don't know. But there was a crest inside the lining. What crest? Maya closed her eyes briefly. She had tried so hard to forget it. A white fox wrapped around a knife. Adrian turned away. For the first time since she met him, his control cracked. Only slightly, but enough. His hand curled into a fist against the desk. What is it? Maya asked. That crest belonged to the Villari family. I've never heard of them. You weren't supposed to? They were absorbed into D'Amico territory after the fire. Maya understood then. Not all of it. Enough. The bride's family. Adrian nodded once. Maya took a shaky breath. So Vivienne knew who I was. She may have. But why bring me to the wedding? Why humiliate me publicly? Adrian looked back at her. His eyes were no longer cold. They were worse. They were full of calculation, sharpened by rage. To make you visible, he said. So killing you later would look like superstition. Scandal. Tragedy. Anything except murder. The city beyond the windows blurred. Maya gripped the edge of the table. For years, She had believed her scar was the last mark of a random fire. Now it was a signature, a target. Adrian moved closer, but stopped before touching her. His hand hovered near her elbow, then lowered. That restraint hurt more than contact would have. They won't reach you here, he said. You don't know that. No, he admitted. But I know what I'll do if they try. Maya looked up. What his voice softened into something terrifying. End. Bloodlines. That night, Maya could not sleep. Adrian gave her a guest room larger than her apartment, with silk sheets, a locked balcony, and 2 guards outside the door. Elena brought her tea in clothes that were not hers, a black sweater, soft pants, slippers that had never touched a sidewalk. Maya waited until the penthouse grew quiet. Then she left the room. The guards turned. I need air, she said. They looked at each other. Then one touched his earpiece. A few seconds later, Adrian appeared at the end of the hall, still dressed in black, still awake. Of course. Walk with me, he said. I didn't ask for permission. No. You asked men who, one, disobey me. Maya folded her arms. That must be convenient. Rarely. He opened a door leading to the rooftop terrace. Night had fallen over Manhattan. The river reflected the city in broken silver. Wind lifted Maya's hair away from her scar. And for once, she did not pull it back down. Adrian stood beside her near the glass railing. For several minutes, neither spoke. Below them, cars moved like veins of light. I had a life this morning, Maya said quietly. You still do. No, I had rent, guy, clients, a broken espresso machine. Mrs. Alvarez downstairs stealing my packages and pretending it was an accident. I had normal problems. Adrian watched the skyline. Normal problems are a luxury. Is that supposed to make me grateful? No. Then what? He looked at her. It means I understand what was taken. Maya studied him. The rooftop wind moved through his dark hair. He looked carved from shadow and restraint. But there was something beneath it tonight. Not softness. Never that quickly. A wound with a lock on it. Your brother, she said. His eyes shifted away. What was his name? A long pause. Mateo. Maya waited. Adrian's jaw flexed. He was 19. Reckless. Kind when he thought no one was watching. He hated my father. Loved fast cars. Wanted to leave New York and open a vineyard in California. Which was ridiculous because he knew nothing about wine except how to steal it from our father's cellar. Maya smiled faintly. Adrian saw it. For a moment. The air between them changed, then his face closed again. He went to Santoros that night to pick up a jacket for me. I was supposed to go. I sent him instead. Maya's smile faded. I'm sorry, she said. His voice dropped. I told you not to be, and I ignored you. He looked at her then. Something dangerous and unwilling moved in his eyes. You do that often. When men give bad instructions, he stepped closer. Not enough to touch. Enough that Maya felt warmth where the wind had been. You should be careful with me. I am. No, he said softly. You're honest with me. That is not the same thing. Maya's heartbeat changed. The city seemed far below them now. Too far. He lifted his hand. And for one impossible second, she thought he might touch her scar. He stopped before his fingers reached her skin. His hand lowered. Maya hated the disappointment that moved through her. I don't need you to be gentle because of my face, she said. His gaze locked on hers. I wasn't being gentle because of your face. Then why? His voice became quieter. Because if I touch you tonight, it will not be for comfort. Maya stopped breathing. The words settled between them, dark and intimate. She should have stepped away. Instead, she whispered, "You don't even know me. I know enough to be concerned. For me, for myself." Before she could answer, his phone rang. The moment shattered. Adrian looked at the screen. His expression turned lethal. "What happened?" Maya asked. He answered the call without looking away from her. Listened. Then said, "Only. I'm coming." He hung up. "Maya," he said, "your apartment is burning." The drive to Queens was a blur of black SUVs, sirens, and Maya's heart trying to tear itself apart. By the time they reached her street, smoke was pouring from the third floor of her building. Firefighters shouted. Neighbors stood outside in pajamas and coats. Mrs. Alvarez clutched a cat carrier and sobbed in Spanish. Maya ran before anyone could stop her. Adrian caught her around the waist. "No, my machines are in there. The building is unstable. My work is in there, my patterns. My client books. Maya, let go of me," she fought him then. Not because she thought she could win, because grief needed a body to strike. Adrian held her firmly while flames lit the windows of her apartment orange. Everything she owned burned above them. Every dress she had altered, every sketch, every roll of lace saved from clearance bins. The old sewing machine her uncle had taught her on. The curtains she had made from damaged fabric because buying new ones felt wasteful. Her normal life went up in smoke while strangers filmed. Maya stopped fighting. Adrian turned her away from the flames. But she twisted back. "I don't want to look away," she said through tears. He let her look. That was worse. Better. Both. A firefighter approached. "You live in 3B?" Maya nodded. "We got everyone out. Fire started inside your unit. Accelerant near the door." Adrian's face hardened. The firefighter lowered his voice. "This wasn't electrical." Maya laughed once. Brokenly. "It never is." Adrian's hand tightened at her back. A reporter appeared behind the barricade. "There she is," someone shouted. "That's the seamstress from the wedding." Cameras turned. Maya stood in the street with soot in her hair and tears on her face. Adrian removed his coat and placed it around her shoulders. The gesture was public. Possessive. Undeniable. The cameras caught it. Maya looked up at him. "Don't. What don't it make me look like yours?" His eyes held hers. For a moment, she thought he would argue. Instead, he leaned closer and said, low enough only she could hear, "Then tell me who I have to become, so they stop thinking they can take pieces of you." Her throat closed. Before she could answer, a car engine screamed from the end of the block. A white sedan jumped the curb. People shouted. The car came straight toward Maya. Adrian moved. He shoved her behind him, drew his gun, and fired through the windshield. The sedan swerved, struck a parked car, and slammed into a hydrant. Water exploded into the street. Adrian's men surrounded the vehicle. Maya stood frozen beneath his coat as water rained down through smoke and flashing lights. The driver was dragged out bleeding, alive enough to speak. Adrian walked toward him. Maya followed without realizing it. The driver spat blood and laughed. Bad omen. Adrian crouched in front of him. The street went silent around them. "Who sent you?" Adrian asked. The man smiled with broken teeth. "The bride sends her love." Adrian stood. For 1 second, Maya saw what everyone feared. Not a man losing control. A man choosing not to. "Take him," Adrian said. His men dragged the driver away. Maya stared at Adrian. Rain from the broken hydrant, soaking his black shirt. his coat still wrapped around her. "You can't just take him," she said. Adrian looked at her. "I can. That's not justice." "No," he said. It, it's information." She stepped closer, anger cutting through fear. And after he gives it, Adrian did not answer. Maya understood. She should have been horrified. She was horrified. But part of her, the part that had stood in a church while people laughed at her scar, the part that had watched her home burn because someone wanted her erased, understood the darkness in him more than she wanted to. That frightened her most. Adrian seemed to see it. He approached slowly. "Do not confuse understanding me with becoming me," he said. Maya looked up at him, water and ash on her face. "Then don't make me need you." His eyes darkened. "Too late," he said. The next morning, Maya woke in Adrian S. penthouse to find her face on every screen in New York. Not the face she saw in the mirror. A story. A curse. A scandal. A mystery woman under a mafia boss' veil. Some headlines mocked her. Some pitied her. Some called her Adrian Russo's secret lover. Others claimed she had sabotaged the D'Amico wedding out of jealousy. The worst one showed her scar, circled in red. Maya stared at it until Elena quietly turned off the television. "People are cruel when they don't have to look you in the eye," Elena said. Maya sat at the kitchen island wearing borrowed clothes, hands around a cup of coffee she had not touched. Across the room, Adrian spoke with his men near the windows. He had been awake all night. She knew because she had heard his voice through the walls, low and controlled. While the city slept and her life burned in police reports and security feeds, a man entered carrying a garment bag and several boxes. Adrian turned. "Put them in the workroom." Maya looked up. "What workroom?" He nodded toward a set of double doors. Elena opened them. Inside was an empty room yesterday. Now it held 2 industrial sewing machines, a cutting table, rolls of fabric, dress forms, thread racks, lamps, scissors, rulers, and an antique black sewing machine that looked painfully similar to the one she had lost. Maya stood slowly. Her chest hurt. Adrian watched her from across the room. "What is this?" she asked. "You said your work burned. You can replace my life with expensive equipment." "No," he said, "but I can return your hands to something they understand." Maya stared at him. She wanted to be angry. It would have been easier. Instead, she walked into the room and touched the edge of the cutting table. Solid wood, smooth surface. The machines were better than anything she could have dreamed of buying. Her eyes burned again. "I don't want to owe you," she whispered. "You don't. That's not how gifts from men like you work." His voice was quiet behind her. "Then don't call it a gift. Call it strategy." She turned. He stood in the doorway, arms at his sides, face unreadable. "Strategy. You are the only person alive who recognizes that stitch. I need you working." Maya searched his face. There it was. The wall. The coldness. The excuse. Maybe for his men. Maybe for himself. "And after I help you," she asked, "then you decide where to go. Do you let people leave?" His eyes held hers too long. "Not often." The admission should have chilled her. It did, but not in the way it should have. One of his men appeared behind him. "Boss, Lorenzo is here." Adrian's expression closed completely. "Bring him." A few minutes later, Lorenzo Russo stormed into the penthouse wearing a wrinkled wedding suit and the desperation of a man drowning in consequences. He was handsome in a softer way than Adrian, with restless eyes and too much charm cracked by fear. Vivian came behind him, still in white, still perfect. Still cruel. Maya's stomach tightened. Adrian moved subtly, placing himself between them. Vivian noticed. Her mouth curved. How touching, she said. The seamstress gets a tower and guards now. Maya stepped out from behind Adrian before he could speak. Better than borrowing cruelty and calling it class. Lorenzo looked shocked. Vivian's eyes flashed. Adrian. Gaza slid to Maya. There was that dangerous, almost smile again. Lorenzo raised his hands. We need to end this. The families are talking. The wedding failed. The press is eating us alive. And now everyone thinks Adrian stole my bride, seamstress. I didn't steal anyone, Adrian said. Vivian looked at Maya. No, you just collect damaged things. The room went still. Adrian's men shifted. Maya felt his anger before she saw it. It moved through the penthouse like pressure before a storm. But she lifted one hand slightly. A silent come on. Do not. Adrian saw it and stopped. The power of that nearly stole her breath. Vivienne saw it too. Her face changed. Jealousy was ugly when it realized it had lost before the game began. You think he cares about you? Vivienne asked Maya. Adrian Russo does not care. He acquires. He protects what serves him. Then he locks it away. Maya's throat tightened, but she refused to look at him. Vivienne stepped closer. Ask him what happened to the last woman who thought she could soften him. Lorenzo snapped. Vivienne. Adrian's voice was very soft. Careful. Vivienne smiled. Why? You didn't tell her about Sophia. Maya felt the name land. Adrian did not move, but everything in him went silent. Vivienne's smile widened. Of course not. Maya looked at him despite herself. Who is Sophia? She asked. No answer. That was the answer. Vivienne laughed under her breath. Poor Maya. You thought the veil meant something. Adrian stepped forward. Maya had never seen people recoil from silence before. But Lorenzo did. Vivienne did not. Perhaps cruelty made people stupid. Leave, Adrian said. Vivienne lifted her chin. The D'Amico family demands the veil returned. The veil is evidence. It is my property. It became mine when you used it to mark a death. Her face went pale for one fraction of a second. Maya caught it. So did Adrian. Lorenzo turned toward Vivienne. What is he talking about? Vivienne recovered quickly. He's trying to shift blame because he humiliated me at my own wedding. Adrian looked at Lorenzo. Your bride knew about the stitch. That's insane. Ask her why she hired Maya Collins specifically. Lorenzo's eyes moved to Vivienne. For the first time, his certainty cracked. Vivienne's voice sharpened. Are you really going to believe him over me? Lorenzo hesitated. That hesitation was enough. Vivienne's expression hardened. She turned toward Maya. You should have stayed hidden. Scar and all. Maya's hands curled. Adrian's voice cut through the room. Take them out. His men moved. Vivienne backed toward the door. Eyes locked on Maya. This family eats women like you, she said. He just hasn't decided whether you're dinner or dessert. Maya stood very still until the elevator doors closed. Then she turned to Adrian. Sophia, she said. His face had become stone. No, you're not asking me that because you want truth. You were asking because she wounded you. Maya stared at him. You don't get to decide why I ask questions. I do when the answers put you in danger. She gave a humorless laugh. Everything puts me in danger now. Adrian looked away. That small movement hurt more than she expected. Maya, no. Her voice shook. She hated it. You brought me here? You told me to trust you. You built me a room full of sewing machines and then hid behind strategy when I almost believed it meant something. His eyes returned to hers. It did mean something. Then tell me, The silence stretched. Finally, Adrian said, Sophia was my fiancée. Maya's chest tightened. She died 3 years ago. He continued, car bomb. Meant for me. Maya looked down. The anger drained out of her too quickly, leaving something raw. I'm sorry. He gave a bitter half smile. You keep saying that to me because terrible things keep happening around you. His eyes softened for half a heartbeat. Then he locked it away. She worked with my enemies, he said, fed them routes, names, meeting places. I found out too late. When they realized she'd been exposed, they killed her before I could decide what to do. Maya absorbed that. She betrayed you. Yes. And you loved her, Adrian looked toward the windows. No, he said quietly. I trusted her. At the time, I thought that was the same thing. Maya's heart shifted painfully, and now his gaze returned to hers. The air between them tightened. Now I know the difference. Before Maya could answer, the screens on the office wall flickered. Every monitor went black. Then one image appeared. Maya's apartment burning. Another image replaced it. Maya at 19, in a hospital bed. Bandages covering half her face. Her breath stopped. Another image. Her uncle's tailor shop before the fire. Another. Adrian's brother, Mateo, smiling in a black jacket with unfinished stitching at the collar. Maya stumbled back. Adrian caught her arm. His men rushed into the room. A distorted voice filled the penthouse speakers. The bad omen remembers. Maya's skin went cold. The screen changed again. A live security feed appeared. Elena, downstairs in the lobby, held at gunpoint. Adrian went absolutely still. The voice laughed. Bring the veil to St. Aurelia's by midnight. Bring the seamstress too, or the old woman dies first. The screen went black. No one spoke. Maya turned toward Adrian. His face was calm. Too calm? The kind of calm men wore before violence became inevitable. I may going, she said. No. She'll die? No. Maya stepped closer. You said useful women disappear. Is Elena useful enough? His eyes flashed. Do not use her against me. Then don't use fear against me. He leaned down, voice low and furious. You think courage is walking into a trap because someone screams loudly enough. I think cowardice is letting someone else die because I am scared. His jaw tightened. For one moment, the room disappeared. There was only him. Close enough to touch, angry enough to burn, terrified enough to hide it. You have no idea what it will do to me, he said. If I fail to bring you back, Maya's breath caught. There it was. Not love, not yet. Something rougher. Need with teeth. Then don't fail, she whispered. Midnight turned St. Aurelia's into a cathedral of ghosts. No guests now. No roses standing proudly. The flowers lay wilted and trampled along the aisle. Broken stained glass had been boarded with plywood. Candlelight flickered across bullet holes in marble columns. Maya walked beside Adrian, wearing black. Not because he asked her to, because white belonged to Vivienne, and Maya was done dressing like someone else's sacrifice. The torn veil rested in her arms. Adrian had argued for a tactical team. Hidden snipers. Every possible advantage. Maya had argued for Elena's life. In the end, he brought both. His men moved through shadows outside the church, invisible until needed. Inside, only Adrian and Maya walked down the aisle. You stay behind me, he said. No. Maya, I can identify the stitch. Remember strategy. His eyes cut to hers. Even in the dark, She felt the heat of it. You keep using my words like weapons. You have so many. Before he could answer, a slow clap echoed from the altar. Vivienne stepped out from behind a column. No wedding gown now. She wore red. Behind her, two men dragged Elena forward. Her hands were bound, but her chin was high. Maya's heart clenched. Elena, Adrian said. I am fine, Elena replied, annoyed. Mostly. Vivienne rolled her eyes. Everyone in this house speaks like they recarved on tombstones. Adrian's gaze never left Elena. Let her go. Give me the veil. Maya held it tighter. Vivienne smiled. Still clinging to things that don't belong to you. Adrian took a step forward. One of Vivienne's men pressed a gun to Elena's head. Maya grabbed Adrian's sleeve. He stopped. Vivienne saw the movement and smiled wider. Oh, she said. That is interesting. Maya hated the satisfaction in her voice. Vivienne descended the altar, stepped slowly. You know, Adrian never cared when people begged. Not enemies. Not debtors. Not blood. But you touch his sleeve and he stops. Adrian's face revealed nothing. But Maya felt the truth in the silence. Vivienne looked at Maya. Do you know why I called your scar a bad omen? Maya lifted her chin. Because cruelty needs theater. No. Vivienne's smile thinned. Because my father said the girl from the fire should have died with the tailor. Maya's blood froze. Adrian's voice turned deadly. Your father ordered the Santoro fire. Vivienne laughed. My father ordered many things, but not that. A figure stepped out of the shadows behind the altar. Lorenzo Russo. Maya felt Adrian go still beside her. Lorenzo looked wrecked, pale, sweating, holding a gun with a trembling hand. Lorenzo, Adrian said quietly. Lorenzo. Their eyes were red. You were never supposed to bring her into this. Maya stared at him. The betrayal was not Vivienne. Not only Vivienne, it had always been inside the Russo bloodline. Adrian's voice remained calm, but Maya heard the fracture beneath it. You cut the veil. Lorenzo swallowed. I had no choice. You always had a choice. No. Lorenzo laughed bitterly. That's easy for you. Adrian Russo. The chosen son. The empire. The loyalty. The fear. You inherited everything. I inherited graves. You inherited power. Vivienne moved beside Lorenzo and placed a hand on his chest. Tell him. Lorenzo's gun shook. The Villari accounts belonged to my mother. Your father stole them after Matteo died. I was supposed to get my share when the families merged. So you married Vivienne to buy a throne. To take back what I was owed. Adrian looked at him like he was already dead. And Matteo, Lorenzo, flinched. Maya's heart pounded. Adrian stepped forward. Say his name. Lorenzo's voice broke. He wasn't supposed to be there. The church seemed to stop breathing. Maya saw Adrian's hand flex. He went instead of you. Lorenzo whispered. The jacket was meant for you. The fire was supposed to scare father into transferring control. But Matteo came, and Santoro locked the back room. And then everything went wrong. Maya's vision blurred. Her uncle had died because rich men played inheritance games with fire. Adrian's brother had died because a boy wanted power. And Maya had carried the scar of their greed for 7 years. Adrian's voice dropped to almost nothing. You killed my brother. I was 19. Lorenzo said, tears slipping down his face. I panicked. You let me bury him. I was afraid of you. You should have been. Lorenzo raised the gun. Maya moved without thinking. She stepped in front of Adrian. His arm came around her instantly, pulling her back against him. No. He breathed near her ear. But Lorenzo had already seen it. So had Vivienne. Vivienne's eyes lit with vicious delight. There it is. Adrian's hand tightened at Maya's waist. Vivienne lifted her own gun. Not at Adrian. At Maya. Men like him only understand loss. She said, "Let's teach him again." Everything happened at once. Elena drove her heel into the foot of the man holding her. Adrian fired. The man dropped. Lorenzo shouted. Vivienne pulled the trigger. Adrian spun Maya behind a pew. The bullet struck his shoulder. Maya screamed his name. Adrian staggered but did not fall. His men burst through the side doors. Gunfire erupting through the church. Candle flames shuddered. Wood splintered. Vivienne ran toward the altar. Lorenzo fired wildly, then threw his gun aside and tried to flee. Maya pressed her hands against Adrian's shoulder. Blood soaked through his black shirt. "You ray et," she said. His eyes were on the altar. "Stay here." "No." "Maya, no." He looked at her then. Truly looked. Something in him broke open. Not weakness. Fear. Fear of leaving her. Fear of losing her. Fear of wanting her so much it made him human in the middle of war. His bloody hand rose toward her face. This time he did not stop. His fingers touched her scar with unbearable gentleness. Maya went still. Around them, men fought and shouted, but his touch was quiet. "Revenant, you are not an omen," he said. "You are the witness." Her eyes filled. Then a gun clicked behind them. Vivienne stood 10 feet away, shaking, furious, beautiful in the ruined candlelight. Touching, she hissed. Maya saw the angle before Adrian did. Vivienne was not aiming at Adrian. She was aiming at the old gas line near the restoration scaffolding, where workers had been repairing damage after the first shooting. Maya grabbed the veil from the pew. The black mourning stitch. The hidden wire. Not just thread. A fuse. Maya understood too late. The veil. She whispered. It wasn't only a message. Vivienne smiled. It was a match. She fired. Maya threw the veil toward the candle stand. Adrian lunged. The bullet struck metal. Sparks flew. Flame caught the lace. For one terrible second, the veil burned white. Then black smoke erupted. Not an explosion. A signal. Outside. Engines roared. Adrian cursed. More men. The front doors burst open. Amico soldiers flooded the church. Adrian pushed Maya behind him. Wounded, shoulder bleeding. Gun raised. Maya looked at the burning veil. At the flames crawling across lace. At the stitch her uncle had taught her to fear. She grabbed a silver baptismal bowl from the side altar and threw holy water over the burning fabric. The flame died. So did the signal. Outside, instead of more Amico men entering, sirens exploded through the night. Police. Federal agents. Adrian's eyes snapped toward her. Maya stared back, breathless. I called someone before we came, she said. His expression changed. Who? My uncle had a friend, a federal prosecutor. He told me after the fire that if I ever saw the White Fox crest again, I should call him. Adrian's eyes darkened. You didn't tell me? You're not the only one who keeps secrets. For a moment, in the middle of blood, smoke, and betrayal, he looked almost proud. Then Vivienne screamed and ran. Adrian turned, but his wounded arm slowed him. Maya ran after her. She did not think. She moved through smoke and broken flowers, past shattered pews, past the altar where the wedding had never happened. Vivienne reached the sacristy door. Maya grabbed the train of her red dress and pulled. Vivienne fell hard. She twisted. nails clawing, face contorted with hatred. "You ugly little Maya," slapped her. The sound cracked through the sacristy. Vivienne stared in shock. Maya stood over her, shaking. "Do not finish that sentence." Vivienne Lunget. Maya grabbed a fallen candlestick and knocked the gun from her hand. Adrian appeared behind her, pale from blood loss. His gun trained on Vivienne, but Maya did not step away. Not this time. Vivienne looked between them, panting. "You think this ends with romance," she spat. "He will destroy you. He destroys everything he loves." Maya turned toward Adrian. His face was shadowed, wounded, terrifying. But his eyes were on her like she was the only living thing left in the world. "No," Maya said quietly. "He destroys what tries to take what he loves." Adrian's breath caught. Just once. Federal agents stormed the sacristy. Vivienne was dragged to her feet, screaming threats. Lorenzo was arrested near the side entrance, sobbing his confession into marble and blood. Elena walked out with her wrist bruised but her head high, refusing help from three armed men until Maya reached her. The church filled with sirens, smoke, and the aftermath of buried sins finally breathing. Adrian swayed. Maya caught him before he fell. He looked down at her hands on his chest. "You're very small," he murmured. "You're bleeding and still insulting people. I'm saying you shouldn't be able to hold me up. I've been holding up difficult things my whole life." His eyes softened, then rolled back. Adrian collapsed in her arms. The private hospital wing smelled of antiseptic, rain on wool coats, and fear no one dared to name. Adrian Russo lay unconscious beneath white sheets, his shoulder bandaged, an IV in his arm, his face pale in the morning light. Maya sat beside him. She had not slept. No one asked her to leave. Not the guards lining the hallway. Not Elena. Not even the doctor, who clearly wanted fewer armed criminals in his recovery room, but valued breathing too much to say so. Maya held Adrian's hand. His hand was warm. That frightened her. Powerful men should not feel fragile. Men who gave orders that changed cities should not have pulses beneath your fingers. They should remain myth. Distance. Droomer. Adrian was none of those things now. He was a man who had stepped in front of a bullet meant for her. A man who touched her scar like it was not damage, but testimony. A man who terrified her. A man she trusted more than safety. Elena entered quietly with coffee. "He'll wake," she said. Maya nodded. "You should rest." "I will." "You are lying." "Yes." Elena smiled faintly and placed the coffee on the table. After she left, Maya watched sunlight move across Adrian's face. The door opened again. This time, it was the federal prosecutor. Thomas Hale was older than Maya remembered, with tired eyes and a gray suit that looked like he slept in it. He had visited her hospital room 7 years ago, after the Santoro fire, when her face was wrapped in bandages and her life had become smoke. "You did the right thing calling me," he said. Maya did not release Adrian's hand. "Will it be enough?" Hale exhaled. "Vivian D'Amico is talking. Lorenzo too. The Valerie accounts. The Santoro fire. The attempted assassination. The false media leaks. It's enough to fracture both families." And Adrian Hale looked at the unconscious man. "That depends." Maya's fingers tightened around Adrian's. Hale noticed. "He is not innocent." "Maya, I know. He has done things I cannot ignore." "I know that too." Hale studied her. "Then why are you sitting here like his wife?" The question should have embarrassed her. It did not. Maya looked at Adrian's face. "Because when everyone else looked at me and saw a scar," she said, "he saw a survivor. And when he looked at himself and saw a monster, I saw a man still capable of choosing differently. Hale was quiet for a long time. Then he placed a card on the table. When he wakes, tell him I expect cooperation. Maya gave a tired smile. He hates expectations. I assumed. After Hale left, the room grew still again. Maya leaned back in the chair. Her eyes closed for 1 second. Adrian's fingers moved. Maya sat up. His eyes opened slowly. Gray, unfocused, then clear, then fixed on her. Did you slap the bride? He asked. Voice rough. Maya stared, then laughed before she could stop herself. It came out broken and exhausted and full of tears. You were unconscious. I heard rumors in hell. She deserved it. I'm sure. His thumb brushed the back of her hand. Maya looked down and realized she was still holding him. She started to pull away. His grip tightened. Not painfully. Enough. Don't tam, he said. Her heart ached. You need rest. I need to know if you're relieving. Maya looked at him. There it was. No command. No threat. No strategy. Fear. Raw and badly hidden. I should, she said. His face closed halfway, like he had expected the wound and hated feeling it anyway. I know, he said. That was an answer. It is the only one I can give without becoming selfish. Maya stood. His hands slipped from hers. She walked to the window and looked out over the private hospital garden below. Morning light fell across trimmed hedges and wet stone paths. It was too peaceful for people like them. You took over my life, she said quietly. Yes, you scared me. Yes, you lied by omission. I did. You made choices for me. A pause. Yes. She turned back. Adrian lay still, jaw tight, accepting every word like punishment. And you listened when I told you no? Maya said, not always fast enough. But eventually, his eyes lifted to hers. You protected Elena because I asked. She continued. You didn't send men into my apartment because I told you not to. You touched my scar only when I was ready. Even though you wanted to before. His breathing changed. Maya walked back to the bed. I'm not staying because I am helpless. She said, I know. I'm not staying because you own me. His eyes sharpened. No one owns you. Good. But I want you, he said. The words were quiet. No performance. No seduction. Just truth stripped down to the bone. Maya's pulse stumbled. Adrian looked at her as if speaking cost him more than the bullet had. I want you in my house, in my city, in rooms where I can hear you arguing with me. I want your machines running at midnight. I want your hands covered in thread. I want your coffee cups left where they annoy Elena. I want the scar you think people stare at to be the first thing I see when I come home. Because it reminds me that something survived what should have ended it. Maya's eyes filled. He swallowed. And I hate that I want any of it. Because wanting is weakness in my world. But losing you would be worse. She could not move. Adriana's voice dropped. I will not ask you to belong to me. I am trying to become the kind of man who understands why that is wrong. His eyes held hers. But I am asking you to choose me. When you can, if you can, Maya breathed through the ache in her chest. Outside, the garden glittered after rain. Inside, the most dangerous man in New York waited for an answer, like a condemned man waiting for mercy. Maya sat beside him again. She took his hand. I don't know how to love a man like you, she whispered. His thumb brushed hers. I don't know how to be loved by a woman like you. That sounds like a disaster. It usually is. She smiled through tears. He watched that smile like it wounded him. Then we learned slowly, she said. His eyes closed for 1 second. When they opened, something in them had changed, not softened, anchored. The weeks that followed turned New York into a city of falling kings. Vivian D'Amico's arrest shattered her family's perfect image. Lorenzo Russo's confession exposed the inheritance conspiracy that had led to the Santoro fire. Old men who had smiled at weddings began fleeing to airports. Bank accounts froze. Warehouses burned mysteriously. Deals collapsed overnight. Adrian cooperated with federal investigators in ways that made both criminals and prosecutors nervous. He gave them names. Not all names. Enough to destroy the men who had destroyed his brother. Enough to make the city shift. Maya returned to work before the doctors cleared Adrian to leave the hospital. Not to her old apartment. That was gone. Adrian offered to buy her a building. She refused. He offered to buy her a floor. She refused harder. In the end, Elena found a small storefront beneath a brownstone in Brooklyn with tall windows, old brick walls, and a back room big enough for 3 machines. Maya signed the lease herself. Adrian stood behind her while she did it, looking deeply offended by the landlord's cheap pen. "This neighborhood has poor security," he said afterward. "This neighborhood has bakeries, children, and a woman across the street who sells flowers from buckets. None of those stop bullets. No, but they make life worth protecting." He went quiet at that. 2 days later, discreet cameras appeared outside the storefront. Maya found them in under an hour. She called him. "Adrian." "Yes. Did you install surveillance on my shop?" A pause. "Define surveillance." She hung up. He arrived 20 minutes later with flowers from the woman across the street. Maya made him remove half the cameras. Only half. Love. She was learning. Was not surrender. It was negotiation with someone who would burn the world and needed to be taught where to put the matches. Their relationship became a rumor before it became a confession. Photographers caught Adrian leaving her shop after midnight, carrying a box of fabric. A gossip site posted a picture of Maya measuring the sleeve of his black shirt while he watched her with an expression no one in the city had ever seen on his face. The caption read, "The Veiled Woman tames the Russo king." Maya hated it. Adrian hated the word tames. "He makes me sound like an animal," he said. Maya looked up from her sewing machine. "You threatened my landlord over a broken heater." He raised his voice. "He has asthma. He survived." Maya tried not to smile. Adrian saw it anyway. He leaned against the cutting table, still in his black suit, still dangerous, but less unreachable now. His shoulder had healed enough for him to move without pain. Though Maya noticed he still favored it when tired. He noticed her noticing. "You worry," he said. "You bleed dramatically. Only around you? That is not romantic." It felt romantic when I said it. "You also need practice with romance." His eyes warmed in that restrained, devastating way that made her forget how to thread a needle. He moved behind her chair. Slowly. Always slowly now. Giving her time. His hands rested on the back of the chair, not touching her. "What would count as practice?" he asked. Maya, breath caught. Outside. Brooklyn moved through a soft afternoon. People walked dogs. A delivery truck blocked traffic. The flower woman laughed at something across the street. Normal life. Impossible life. Maya turned her head slightly. Adrian was close enough that his breath warmed her hair. "You could start," she said, "by asking before you almost kissed me." His silence changed. Then he came around the chair and crouched in front of her. Mafia boss on one knee in a seamstress shop with thread clinging to his sleeve. His eyes lifted to hers. "Maya Collins," he said, voice low. "May I kiss you?" Her heart opened painfully. "Yes?" He kissed her like a man restraining a storm. One hand rose to her jaw, thumb careful near her scar. His mouth was warm, controlled, devastatingly patient. Maya expected hunger. She found reverence beneath it. That frightened her more. She pulled back first. His eyes stayed closed half a second longer, as if he needed to survive the loss. When he opened them, they were darker. Again he asked. Maya smiled. You learn fast. The second kiss was not as careful. Months later, St. Aurelia's reopened. The bullet holes were repaired. The stained glass replaced. The roses gone. No wedding took place there that day. No mafia families filled the pews. Only a small memorial service for the victims of the Santoro fire. 7 years late, Maya stood near the altar, wearing a simple ivory dress she had made herself. Not bridal. Not quite. The fabric moved softly around her, and her scar was uncovered. Adrian stood beside her in black. Elena sat in the front row. Thomas Hale stood near the back. Former enemies watched from a distance because some invitations were not requests. A framed photograph of Matteo Russo rested beside a photograph of Maya's uncle. Two young men lost to ambition. Two ghosts finally named. Maya walked to the altar, holding the restored veil. Not Vivienne's veil anymore. Not a curse. Not a trap. She had removed the black mourning stitch and repaired the lace with gold thread so fine it only showed when sunlight struck it. Across the border, hidden among pearls, she had embroidered two small words in Italian. Ancora qui, still here. She placed the veil beneath the photographs. Her hands did not shake. When she returned to Adrian's side, his fingers brushed hers, not grabbing, asking. She took his hand. After the service, people drifted into the courtyard where sunlight fell over stone and ivy. Adrian remained inside the church, staring at Matteo's photograph. Maya found him there. You disappeared, she said. I am Mafia. We lurk. She smiled softly, still practicing humor badly. She walked to him. For a long moment, they stood before the altar, where everything had begun: humiliation, gunfire, betrayal. The veil lifted over her face. Maya looked at the repaired lace beneath the photographs. I used to think my scar was proof something had been taken from me, she said. Adrian turned toward her. And now, she touched her cheek. Now I think it's proof something failed to destroy me. His eyes moved over her face with the same directness as the first day. No pity, no flinching. Only devotion sharpened by darkness. Adrian reached into his coat. Maya's breath caught when he pulled out a small black velvet box. Adrian, I know. His voice was calm, but his hand was not. You hate being cornered. So this is not a demand. He opened the box. Inside was a ring unlike any Maya had seen. Not huge, not flashy. A dark oval diamond set in antique gold, with tiny threads of engraved metal wrapping around it like lace. It belonged to no Russo bride. He said, no curse, no history. I had it made from gold, recovered from Santoro's old sewing shears. Maya's eyes filled. Adrian's voice lowered. You once told me beauty without kindness meant nothing. I have been cruel. I have been violent. I will be both again when the world comes for us. But with you, I want to choose differently first. Not always perfectly. But honestly, he stepped closer. Not kneeling yet, waiting. Maya Collins, he said, I am not asking you to disappear into my name. I am asking if I may stand beside yours. Tears slipped down her face. For years, people had asked her to hide the scar, hide the pain, hide the anger, Hide the parts of herself that made others uncomfortable. This man, dangerous and damaged, and hers in ways neither of them fully understood, had lifted a veil not to cover her, but to make the room look. Maya held out her hand. Yes, she whispered. Adrian exhaled like the word had saved him. Only then did he kneel. He slid the ring onto her finger with the care of a man handling something sacred. Then he pressed his mouth to her scar. Maya closed her eyes. Outside, bells began to ring. Not for a wedding. Not yet. For survival. For the dead finally honored. For the woman who had been called a bad omen and became the reason an empire confessed its sins. Adrian stood and touched his forehead to hers. I love you, he said. The words were quiet, almost rough, as if they had fought their way out of him. Maya smiled through tears. That one did not need practice. His mouth curved. A real smile this time. Rare. Devastating. Hearse. From the open church doors, sunlight poured down the aisle, touching the repaired veil, the gold thread, the photographs, the scar on Maya's face, and the ring on her hand. Behind them, the world remained dangerous. Rival families still whispered, old enemies still watched. Adrian Russo would never be harmless, and Maya would never be fragile. But when they walked out of St. Aurelia's together, his hands steady at her back and her head held high, every person in the courtyard turned. This time, no one laughed. The scarred seamstress stepped into the light beside the most feared man in New York, and Adrian Russo, who had once believed love was weakness, looked at her like he had finally found the one thing powerful enough to bring him to his knees. Not a curse, not a bad omen. His bride of fire, his witness, his home.